Hi, it's Jess here from Nigezza.co.uk, and I'm here today with the Valentine card that I made for the Design Team Challenge at Stamping for All. So the Design Team Challenge starts every Monday. So yesterday it was my turn to set the challenge, and it was a Valentine's theme. So I made this Valentine card, which I shall be giving to my other half. So it's a bit of a shabby chic, neutrals one. So yeah, I shall show you how I made it. So I'm using crumb cake for my card base, so that's A4 cut in half and scored in half, so I just need to burnish it. I'm using very vanilla, so I've cut a piece for the inside and then I'm using this for the outside. This is bigger because I'm going to rip it. So the first thing we're going to do is stamp this as the background, and I'm using the handwritten stamp. I'm going to use my Stamparatus for this because it's a large stamp, and it saves you buying the big acrylic blocks for it. It was one of the reasons why I kind of justified it for the expense of this. It's like, oh, I don't need to buy them expensive big acrylic blocks. And also the good thing about using the Stamparatus is that you can stamp it more than once in the same place if you don't quite stamp it. And sometimes with these bigger stamps it is hard to get good coverage first time, so I'm ripping it anyway, it doesn't matter. Didn't think about making sure it was in the right place. So, and sometimes we do have trouble, which is why I moved it over, because it is sometimes this bit in the corner here where you don't get so much coverage, but I forgot. I haven't moved it over quite as much as I wanted to, but hey ho, that is absolutely fine because I want to rip it down anyway. So I'm now going to, before it dries too much, taking my aqua painter, and I'm just going to drip some water down it. I like that to run a bit. So we've got some streaks running down. And some blobs. Okay, now you can, with this effect, you can leave it to dry, or you can take your heat tool and you can dry it a bit quicker. And so I'm going to use my heat tool. And now I want to rip it, so I'm going to bring my aqua painter back in, and to give you a little bit more of a controlled tear, you can like paint along it, and it kind of weakens the fibres in the paper a bit, so it actually, you've got a little bit more control over where you're ripping. So I'm going to put that along the edge there. And depending on whether you rip back or rip forward, depends on which side you get the core showing. So ripping forward, you get to see the core, and that's what I want. If you were ripping away, then the core would be on the back. So let's do it on the bottom. And then down this side. And this is actually useful for when you are right on the edge like that, because sometimes that's really hard to rip. If we make it a bit wet, we can take a little sliver off like so. And let me just check on my card blank that I took enough off. Yep, that's lovely. That's what I want. And so now I'm going to dispose of that. I want to do some distressing around it, so I'm going to bring on a scrap piece here, and I'm going to use soft suede to distress the ends. So I'm going to go over the ends first. So it's got a little bit of a, so sometimes when you burn paper, you get this sort of darkened bit off the edge. That is sort of the look I was going for. And where you've exposed the core of the paper, you get some added texture there. And then I'm just going to sponge the ends so that picks up that colour even more in those ripped sections. Yes, we're not sort of pinks and flowers and hearts and pinks and that in our house very much, so this is really up our street for a Valentine's card. Okay, so I don't know why I put that away because I still want to use that. So the next thing I'm going to do is to stamp some hearts. So I'm using the Ribbon of Courage, and I'm going to use the coordinating dies to go with it. So we've got two sizes of hearts and we've got two sizes of heart stamps, and then we've got this sort of flower thing. So I'm going to cut out, well, I've already done it actually, just for quickness. So I've cut out a couple of these in crumb cake to have like a doily effect. Shabby chic should have doilies. And I'm going to stamp the hearts in soft suede. And I'm going to do two big ones. And then a couple of little ones. And use the coordinating dies to cut them out. And these dies cut them out. Lovely. Okay, but with the beauty of pre-prep, I have already done that, so I'm just going to move that out the way. Try not to lose my dies. So I have already cut those out, and I cut some extra ones out of soft suede as well. So they're all ready to build my card up. So I'm going to stick them onto this first. So I'm going to stick the doily down. It doesn't matter too much about it oozing because it's all going to be covered up. So that's what I'm not too bothered about. Place that. And then I'm going to bring in, I've got several threads and ribbons. So I've got this braided linen thread, and I've got our ordinary linen thread, and I've got some of this polka dot ribbon, and I've got some burlap, and I thought different textures that I might use some of these to sort of layer up. So where's my scissors? Can't find them. Use these. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick down some double-sided tape. You could of course wind this around, but I'm just saving a bit of ribbon really. So you could round it round, around and round, but I don't want to do that. So I'm going to stick that piece like that. Then I'm going to stick this on top. And then we'll do another wrap of this around. So that we're building up layers of hearts and texture. Layer these up so it's just randomly placing them, adding height and texture. I might stick a bit of this in, might not. Gonna put another piece of this around. And then stick these last two hearts on top. Might actually put a little bit of a dimensional on that because it's now got height. Don't want a whole dimensional. and then we'll put the other half on that one. Managed to stick it to me mat, but never mind. And then that can go on here. And I'm trying to decide if I want something around the edge of that card. I think I might. Making this up now. I think we shall bring in the Stamparatus again. And I might go soft suede on top. I'm just going to go down the edges. So I've just got a little bit of something in the background, which I've managed to do upside down. I've done it upside down, don't matter. It's only to give a vague background. I just thought it was better than it being plain. Oh dear, sometimes. There we go, and that's kind of what I want. I might do it a little bit on the side, and let's get that stuck down. And then on the inside, I might do a little bit of distressing around this one. That was the right one. Can't have distressing on the front and not put it on the inside as well. And then just stick that on the inside of my card, and that's my Valentine's card done for the Valentine's D&T project over on Stamping for All. Please pop over there and join in the challenges. Most of us will be making a Valentine card, I would have thought. And if you're not, you could just make it for another reason, because that's hearts. It's Valentine's because it's Valentine's Day soon, but it could be for any reason. You could give it to your friend, one of your children, whatever. So that's my Valentine card. So all the details on my blog, nigezza.co.uk, and there'll be a link to the Stamping Up group there, so you can go and join in if you want to. Okay, thanks for joining me. Bye.